He never imagined the very software he dismissed as obsolete would be the weapon that toppled his career. Yet here I was, standing on the threshold of a new beginning, while he scrambled for a lifeline he'd never find. Let me tell you how it all began. I spent 15 years at Sanders & Bailey Financial, a reputable firm in downtown Chicago, where I witnessed sunrise after sunrise from the same office window. I lost count of the weekends sacrificed and the late nights dozing off at my desk. Through it all, company shakeups, budget squeezes, endless policy revamps, I stayed. Why? Because I believed loyalty mattered. But on a brisk Friday morning, inside a sleek glass-walled conference room, that faith was shattered. Across the table sat Leah Mitchell, the newly crowned CEO who wasn't even 40 yet. Oliver Downs, the human resources manager, known for his polite but distant demeanor, and Ethan Quinn, my direct supervisor with a smirk sharper than any scalpel. Leah's voice was measured, as if rehearsed for maximum detachment. Marilyn, I'll be straightforward. Our new direction involves restructuring. Your position has been deemed redundant. That word, redundant, landed like a slap. A wave of numbness spread through me. 15 years of expertise, of guiding younger hires, of fixing other people's oversights, now cast aside. Before I could respond, Ethan leaned back in his chair, crossing his arms. "We're cleaning house," he said, his tone dripping with condescension. "Shedding dead weight so the firm can modernize." Oliver fiddled with his notes, clearly uncomfortable. Leah didn't flinch, but a younger analyst, Taylor Mayfield, spoke softly from the corner. "Please don't take it personally, Marilyn. It's just business." Their words were a brutal refrain echoing in my head. Still, I swallowed my indignation and forced a steady tone. "I understand," I said, letting my lips curl into the faintest smile. They expected anger, tears, or a desperate plea to stay. But they had no idea I'd been waiting for this moment for weeks. 3 weeks earlier, I'd accidentally received an internal email chain never meant for my eyes. Leah and Ethan's cunning plan to oust me and several other seasoned employees. They called it a strategic shift. I called it a purge. I spent every night since then preparing, quietly, methodically. Leah slid a folder toward me. "Inside, you'll find your severance package. We'll need your keycard and company phone by day's end." Behind my calm exterior, my heart pounded. Not because I feared losing a title, but because I'd loved leading my team, 12 people I'd hired, trained, and supported. My protective instinct toward them overshadowed any worry about my own future. "Thank you for the opportunity," I said, lifting the folder without opening it. Ethan's smug grin widened, and Leah briskly moved on to the next agenda item. Only Taylor, her eyes shadowed with empathy, seemed to sense something was off. I returned to my office, locked the door, and pulled out my personal phone. My hands shook slightly as I typed a short text. "It's happening. End of day today." Seconds later, my phone buzzed with a reply. "Perfect. Ready when you are. Dinner tonight?" I exhaled. This was it. Tonight, I would meet with someone who saw what Leah and Ethan had so carelessly undervalued. Monday would be fun, though no one at Sanders & Bailey had the faintest clue. That evening, I slipped into a corner booth at a discreet Italian restaurant, far from the towering finance district. The dim lighting and gentle strains of jazz made it ideal for confidential discussions. From across the table, Gavin Spencer, CEO of Greybridge Capital, Sanders & Bailey's fiercest rival, rose to greet me. Always the gentleman, Gavin smiled warmly, pouring me a glass of wine before I had even settled into my seat. "So," Gavin said, lifting his brow, "they finally made their move." I nodded. "Just as we expected. With Leah at the helm, it was only a matter of time." When Howard Bailey, the previous CEO, announced his retirement 6 months ago, Leah's rapid climb to the top signaled a new era. She talked big about tech overhauls and modern leadership. In reality, it meant sidelining long-term employees and rewriting the firm's core values under the guise of progress. Gavin leaned forward. "I've had my legal team review your documentation. You're in the clear, Marilyn. Those late nights you spent working on the client portfolio system from home? We can prove it was your personal time and resources." He was referring to the improvements I'd made over the last year, improvements that exponentially boosted client satisfaction. Sanders & Bailey used my program as the backbone of their operations. But they all believed it belonged to the company. They were mistaken. I pulled a small flash drive from my purse, placing it between us on the table. "Here's everything," I said. "Every update, every line of code, every efficiency boost. Developed on my home computer, I also filed preliminary patent paperwork last month. It's all under my name." Gavin's eyes glimmered with excitement. "That's brilliant. They never saw it coming," I shrugged. "They saw my gray hairs, not my capabilities. They think I'm out of touch, but this system is leagues ahead of anything they'll try to replicate." Gavin tipped his glass in my direction. "And you have the loyalty of your team?" "I do," I said. "They won't stay at Sanders and Bailey after seeing how I was treated. They're talented, and they trust me." The waiter arrived with our meals, which we barely noticed, too consumed by the conversation. We discussed how I'd transition to Graybridge as their new director of strategic innovation. I'd bring the software, and my best people. The next move? Going public with it all. Gavin raised his glass, grinning. "To Monday." I clinked mine against his, feeling a surge of determination. "To Monday," I echoed, imagining Leah's expression when she realized how thoroughly she had underestimated me. Monday morning felt surreal. My commute was the same. The offices of Sanders and Bailey were unchanged. Same steel and glass exterior, same hum of computers. Yet tension crackled in the air. My official exit would happen by end of day, and rumors had already circulated like wildfire. I walked past clusters of coworkers who pretended not to notice me. Some offered half-hearted smiles. Others hurried away. Taylor, the young analyst, lingered by the break room, but she said nothing. Maybe she couldn't find the right words. In my office, a small cardboard box sat on the desk. Family photos, service awards, and little trophies from finance conferences were scattered around. My phone blinked with missed calls. None of them from Ethan or Leah. Not surprising. I spent the morning meticulously organizing files and printing out project summaries. I knew exactly what I was doing. I wasn't leaving them in chaos out of spite. I was leaving them enough to think they could manage. Until they realized my system's full complexity wasn't documented anywhere. By noon, every member of my team had dropped by in a steady parade of "just wanted to say" or "need advice on." I told them all the same thing. "Check your personal email tonight." Their brows creased in confusion, but they nodded. I'd promised them a better future, and soon they'd see the details. Oliver, the HR manager, showed up in my office around 2 o'clock, holding a clipboard and sporting the same uneasy look he'd worn during the meeting. He cleared his throat. "Time for your exit interview, Ms. Hayes." Seated across from me, he slid a stack of papers over, which included a non-disclosure agreement. "You know everything created during your employment belongs to Sanders and Bailey," Oliver recited. I signed, letting my pen press into the paper with calculated care. Of course, everything I created while using the company's resources is theirs. He barely noticed my emphasis, too busy ticking boxes. "And you affirm you have no copies of proprietary information." "I've taken nothing that belongs to the company," I said simply. He seemed relieved the process was so smooth. Moments later, we shook hands, and he left. My desk was empty now, aside from one final taped-up box. On my way out, I ran into Ethan. He stood casually in the hall, arms crossed. "Guess this is goodbye," he said with a thin smile. "No hard feelings, right? You had a good run, Marilyn, but we need fresh ideas, and well..." He trailed off, letting me fill in the blank. I was no longer fresh in his eyes. I matched his fake smile. "No hard feelings at all, Ethan." He gave a shrug. "Enjoy retirement." I lifted an eyebrow. "Retirement? Not a chance." The confusion flickered across his face. "I've accepted a new role," I added lightly. "I start next week." He forced a laugh, but I didn't linger. I strode past him, carrying my box of memories like a badge of honor, right out of Sanders and Bailey's lobby. 15 years of service behind me, and they had no idea what was coming next. I woke up early the following Monday, no longer tethered to the old routine. I brewed a cup of strong coffee and watched the sun come up over the Chicago skyline. For the first time in a long while, I felt free. At exactly 8 a.m., Graybridge Capital released a statement on their website. Graybridge Capital proudly announces Marilyn Hayes as our new Director of Strategic Innovation. We have secured exclusive rights to her cutting-edge client portfolio system. My phone chimed repeatedly. Texts, emails, notifications from social media. Taylor, 8:15 a.m. Marilyn, everyone here is freaking out. Leia called an emergency meeting. Miguel, 8:17 a.m. He was my top developer. They're acting like headless chickens. The software you improved? We rely on it daily, and now they don't know what to do without you. I replied with a cryptic, check your personal email. Over the weekend, I had sent individualized offers to every member of my old team. Positions at Graybridge with higher salaries, better benefits, and real growth opportunities. By 9 a.m., I was already receiving acceptance confirmations. Meanwhile, Sanders and Bailey's phone lines must have been melting under client calls, all hearing about the new system at Graybridge. Panic set in. It was all over the finance blogs by mid-morning. Graybridge Capital poaches veteran from Sanders and Bailey, major client software rights acquired. By midday, Sanders and Bailey's stock slid several percentage points. They tried to downplay the situation, but the rumor mill churned. Clients were considering jumping ship to Graybridge. At 10:30 a.m., my phone rang. Leah Mitchell. I sipped my coffee, letting it ring a couple of times before answering calmly. Marilyn, she said, struggling to maintain composure. We need to talk. You've taken proprietary systems from us. I cut her off. I took nothing that belongs to Sanders and Bailey, Leah. We both know the improvements to the platform were my own development. Off company time, on my own equipment. Check the employment contract's fine print if you doubt me. Silence. Then she tried again, more smoothly. Let's be reasonable. We're prepared to negotiate. Can you come in so we can discuss licensing rights or a possible arrangement? Her desperation was barely disguised. Sorry, I said softly. My week is packed. But you can speak with Graybridge's legal team. I ended the call before she could respond. By Tuesday morning, the tremors rocking Sanders and Bailey were in full quake mode. Major financial outlets speculated about the firm's stability. Rumor had it the board was furious about losing key clients to Graybridge. I was at Graybridge's office, a sprawling modern space with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Chicago River. My new team, my old team, buzzed with excitement. Miguel, Taylor, and others who'd accepted my offer were already diving into projects with more enthusiasm than I'd ever seen at Sanders and Bailey. Gavin entered our project room holding a tablet, eyebrows raised. They've called an emergency board meeting. Some of their biggest clients are seeking new contracts, with us. I nodded, unfazed. They won't stand by and watch themselves crumble without a fight. Sure enough, by late afternoon, Graybridge's legal counsel received a request from Sanders and Bailey for a formal sit-down. They wanted licensing rights to the system they once dismissed. Gavin's grin was almost mischievous. They must be desperate, he said. But we're not giving them a discount. We had everything prepared. Retroactive licensing fees, public acknowledgement of my authorship, and the promise to respect future updates. It would be a tough pill for Sanders and Bailey to swallow, but they had no choice. Rebuilding from scratch would cost them far more time and money than they could afford to lose. By Wednesday morning, the headlines were brutal. Sanders and Bailey stock plunges after key software departure, leadership under fire. Investors don't tolerate uncertainty, and the firm's stumbling, haphazard response only fanned the flames. Word spread that Ethan was blaming Leah. Leah was blaming Oliver, and the board was preparing to shake things up at the top. I simply watched from my new glass-walled office at Graybridge, focusing on refining my software and guiding my team to surpass our first performance goals. The satisfaction was undeniable. By Wednesday afternoon, the next wave of news broke. CEO Leah Mitchell steps down amid controversy at Sanders and Bailey. Department head Ethan Quinn also exits, ousted by board. My phone vibrated with a text from Taylor. They're gone, both Leah and Ethan. This place is in chaos. I responded with a single word, inevitable. 2 weeks later, the final licensing contract was signed. Sanders and Bailey caved to all the major terms. A hefty annual fee to keep using my platform, plus a public press release naming me the system's original creator. Gavin found me standing by the windows of the Graybridge executive floor, gazing out over the downtown skyline, lit by the afternoon sun. It's official, he said, waving a handful of paperwork. We've got the deal, and a fortune in licensing fees. I exhaled, relief mingling with triumph. 15 years, I murmured. They never saw me as more than a relic. They'll be feeling that oversight for a long time, Gavin replied, patting the stack of signed agreements. Sanders and Bailey issued a statement shortly after. Sanders and Bailey Financial acknowledges Marilyn Hayes as the sole developer of the enhanced portfolio management system. We regret the recent confusion and are grateful for her contributions. The gratitude tasted hollow, but it was more than I'd ever received while working there. The real victory was seeing the faces of my team at Graybridge, Miguel, Taylor, and the rest, finally recognized, finally thriving. That evening, I received a call from a familiar number, Denise Robbins, who handled legal affairs for Sanders and Bailey. She started with a formal apology. Marilyn, many of us disagreed with how you were treated. I hope you'll consider collaborating again down the line. I cut her off politely but firmly. You have internal rebuilding to do first, Denise. If that ever happens, maybe we'll talk. We ended on cordial terms, yet the message was clear. They couldn't retroactively purchase loyalty they had tossed aside so carelessly. When I finally left the office that night, I paused in the hallway, watching my team brainstorm in a nearby conference room. Their laughter echoed off the walls, a far cry from the grim hush that used to stifle us. And with that sound, I felt the closure I'd sought. Life teaches us that underestimating someone's worth can be your downfall. Sanders and Bailey saw only my gray hairs, not the years of wisdom and innovative thinking I still offered. Their betrayal ignited a plan that not only vindicated me, but elevated everyone who believed in my leadership. Revenge alone isn't always the goal. Sometimes it's about reclaiming respect, ensuring others realize their mistakes, and forging a better future for those who stood by you. In the end, real power lies in expertise, loyalty, and never losing faith in your own value. In finance or in life, burning bridges carelessly might just mean you'll have to watch the other side flourish without you.